The first time she called me, Mi cielo, I had no idea I was being called my sky, but I knew, from the way her voice curved around those two words, from the warm coconut breeze rolling up from Miraflores, from the salsa music drifting through someone's open window, I knew I wanted to hear her say it again. Are you a fireworks person or a slow dance person? By the end of this story, you'll understand why that question changed my entire life. I'm David. I retired early from trading in New York at 49, made my money, hit my number, and got out while my nerves were still intact. The spreadsheets finally told me to breathe. So I bought my ticket to Cali, Colombia, a city I'd visited once and couldn't forget, stuffed a folder with official documents, and promised myself I'd learn to move slower. What I didn't know was that slower meant learning an entirely new rhythm. One measured not in market points and profit margins, but in dance steps, Sunday sancochos, and the particular way someone says your name like it's a song they've been practicing. If you've ever wondered what happens when you stop chasing and start listening, hit that subscribe button, because this story is about finding home in the most unexpected place. Behind a government office window, in the smile of a woman holding a rubber stamp. Now let me take you back to day one. Day one in Cali was bureaucracy boot camp, tramites, that beautiful Spanish word for the paperwork labyrinth every expat has to navigate. Stamps, line numbers, photocopies of photocopies. I stood in the notaria with my messy folder of documents, watching a ceiling fan knock lazily at the humid air. A rubber stamp thudded somewhere behind frosted glass. An electronic screen clicked from 63 to 64, and I shuffled forward with everyone else, following arrows and handwritten signs until I found myself at a window marked Traducción, Translation. Behind that glass were the calmest eyes I'd ever seen, and long, dark curls that caught the fluorescent light like they were defying it. She straightened in her chair, and when she smiled, it wasn't the tired government worker smile I was expecting. It was a smile that said, "I've been expecting you all day, and I'm glad you finally made it." "Señor David?" Her voice had this texture, like honey over gravel. "Soy Valentina, traductora. Can I help with your forms?" The way she said my name. Listen, I know this sounds like something from a movie, but the way she said David made it sound like my name had always been a Spanish word, and I'd just been mispronouncing it my whole life. I slid my chaotic stack of papers under the glass. Birth certificate, bank statements, background checks, all in English, all wrinkled from my backpack. She didn't flinch. In maybe 2 minutes, she'd sorted everything into neat squares, tapping them against the desk with the efficiency of someone who genuinely loved bringing order to chaos. "We'll need certified translations of these," she said, tapping the top copy with one finger, her nail making a soft clicking sound, "and a copy of the antecedentes page. Tranquilo." She looked up, and there was something in her eyes, something warm and slightly amused. "I'll guide you." I told her I'd decided to make Cali home. She laughed softly, and it was the kind of laugh that made you want to say funnier things just to hear it again. "Then let's make your Spanish paperwork feel at home too." Here's what I didn't know then. I'd come for a stamp. But I was about to find a voice I'd want to hear every single day for the rest of my life. She finished processing my forms early and offered to walk me to the copy shop outside. "Professional courtesy," she said. "Sure, professional." Boulevard del Rio hummed under the jacaranda trees, purple flowers scattered on the pavement like confetti from a party we'd missed. We stopped at a small cafe with plastic chairs and a handwritten menu, the kind of place that exists in every Latin American city, where they know exactly 3 drinks but make them perfectly. "Lulada," I said, trying to remember what my taxi driver had recommended. She ordered limonada de coco, and when the drinks came, his pink and crushed and icy, hers pale and sweet and sweating, she pulled a pen from behind her ear and wrote a number on the edge of my receipt. The ink bled slightly where the condensation had made the paper soft. "Tomorrow at 10, she said, sliding it across the small table. pick up your translations. I cleared my throat. My heart was doing something irregular. And maybe you could teach me rhythm too? She tilted her head. Those curls bounced, one eyebrow lifted. Poquito a poquito, New York. Have you ever met someone and immediately known, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, certain way, that your life just clicked into a new lane? Drop a comment if you felt that. That night, a pin dropped on my phone. A dance studio in San Antonio. Her message said, "Beginner's welcome," with a winking emoji that felt like a dare and a promise. I showed up in a button-down and the kind of shoes you definitely shouldn't salsa in. The studio was small and wood-floored, mirrors on one wall, a sound system held together with electrical tape on the other. Valentina was already there, wearing jeans and a simple top, hair pulled back, arms crossed, grinning at me like she'd just won a bet with herself. "Ready, David?" I had New York shoulders, tight, armored, efficient. I had a New York clock ticking in my chest. She took both my hands, and I swear, she reset both. "In Cali," she said, her palms warm and dry against mine, "salsa isn't steps. It's listening with your chest." The music started, a piano montuno, a clave tapping out the heartbeat, a voice crooning something about a love I didn't understand yet. I stepped forward on the wrong count. She laughed, not at me, but with me, and the difference was everything. "When in doubt," she said, guiding me back to the rhythm, "breathe." Fast feet, soft hands. She'd spin, and I'd forget to lead, and she'd spin anyway, making my mistakes look intentional. My shoes learned Spanish before my tongue did. What's the hardest skill you've learned for someone you love? Because let me tell you, I learned to say perdón with my feet over and over until my body finally understood what my brain couldn't explain. We fell into a rhythm that didn't need announcements. Wednesdays, Fridays, Sundays, those became our days. She cleaned to music. I joked that she was at war with dust. She insisted she was at peace when things were fresh. Our little apartment in Miraflores felt like a song playing on repeat, the good kind of repeat, the kind you never skip. Plants by the window, records leaning against a small speaker, sunlight coming through the curtains like warm cloth draped over everything. She'd wipe down a shelf, humming under her breath, then nudge my elbow without looking. "Mi amorcito, the frames are crooked," and I'd straighten them like I'd been planning to do it all along. In the kitchen, she taught me Spanish with her hands. Tuesday was aborrajados, sweet plantain wrapped around cheese, fried until golden. The first time I tried to flip one, it exploded. She didn't even look up, just handed me a paper towel and said, "Despacio, good things are patient." Friday was empanadas valunas, crisp little secrets that burn your tongue if you're too eager. She taught me to wait, to let them cool on the rack, steam rising like tiny ghosts. And always, always, there were 2 glasses sweating on the counter, lulada and limonada de coco. She'd take a sip, close her eyes, murmur, "Que rico," like the drink itself was a compliment to the universe. "Gifts fade," she told me once, pressing a cold glass into my palm. "Lulada stays. Stick with me, because in a minute, I'm going to tell you about the December night when I realized I wasn't just visiting her life. I was building one. December in Cali doesn't feel like winter. It feels like the whole city is holding its breath before exhaling into Christmas. Valentina lined our little balcony with candles, dozens of them crowded onto the railing, clustered on the floor, balanced on overturned flower pots. "Mi cielo," she said, handing me a lighter. "Make a wish before I light yours." Wax and coconut oil and night air. The city glittered below us, Cristo Rey glowing white on the hill like a patient lighthouse. We didn't say our wishes out loud. We didn't have to. I used to think love was loud, fireworks, grand declarations, drama. But standing there, lighting candles in silence, I learned it could be a whisper. Dozens of tiny flames saying everything for us. Do you have a ritual that makes your home feel sacred? Tell me in the comments. I want to know what makes your space feel like yours. Sundays belong to her family in San Antonio. And listen, if you think meeting your partner's family is nerve-wracking in your own country, try doing it in Spanish you barely speak, in a house where everyone talks over each other and the Domino's table has its own gravitational pull. Sancocho steamed in a pot the size of a small car. Tias asked kind but thorough questions. Uncles teased in ways I half understood but fully felt. Cousins flowed in and out like lyrics to a song I was still learning. Valentina is a translator by trade, but with her family, she translated me. "He's learning Spanish," she'd say, squeezing my knee under the table. "He's learning salsa. He's learning us." A cousin poured me shampoos, thick and sweet with pineapple and lulo. Someone mentioned chelado down the street, and suddenly half the patio stood up, chairs scraping, laughter rolling. Her mother grinned at me over the ladle. "If he can handle ají, he can handle our daughter." I took the spoon. "I can handle ají," I said. My eyes watered on cue. Everyone clapped me on the back. I belonged. Now, Cali is beautiful, objectively, stunningly beautiful. And yes, sometimes beauty walks past you on Avenida Sexta in a dress that stops traffic. One night, Valentina nudged me, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "I know you looked at her culo, mi amor." She made a little circle with her finger on my palm, tracing it slowly. "But I've got the ring." She laced her hand with mine and kept walking. She didn't stage scenes. She staged jokes, a raised eyebrow, a smirk, a look that said, "We're good." Jealous? A little, but with humor, with winks, with a hand that didn't let go. "Mi amorcito," she whispered later that night. "Remember, eyes have rhythm too." I learned to keep mine on the beat. When I went out alone, errands, a walk, a late coffee, she'd text, "Tell me when you arrive." At first I bristled. I told her I was a grown man. She wrote back immediately, "Grown men can still be loved." Her check-ins weren't control, they were care. I got in the habit of sending a quick photo, a cafe cup, a street corner, my feet on a curb. She'd send back a heart, or "Vale mi cielo." Somehow I came home safer because someone expected me home. Who checks on you, and who do you check on? Seriously, think about it. It matters more than you know. When she's mad, she doesn't shout. She sits. She looks. The sofa becomes a little island, and if I've been careless with time or clumsy with a word, there's a quiet I have to cross. "I'm getting flowers," I say out loud, to nobody, to the air, to my own guilt. The corner store knows me by the sunflowers now. I walk back carefully, trying not to crush the paper wrapping. The door clicks. I hold them out like an apology and a promise. She lets me stand there for a beat. Then, there it is, the smallest half smile. "Ven acá, mi vida." The room exhales. Some arguments are bridges. You just have to walk across. One night she sat on the edge of the bed and handed me a comb. "Amorcito, help me?" Curls pooled down her back like a small dark river. I combed slowly, carefully, trying not to tug. She closed her eyes. Not everything intimate is loud. Some of it is just hands and care and the quiet sound of curls settling into themselves. "Gracias, mi cielo," she whispered. I didn't know my heart could learn a new language at 49. Turns out, it was just waiting for a teacher. After long days, she'd warm a little oil in her palms and knead the weak out of my shoulders. "Breathe," she'd say, her thumbs pressing into the knots I didn't know I was carrying. On the bathroom mirror, a sticky note, "Te adoro, V." I started keeping her notes, tucked them in my market notebook, pressed between charts and Spanish flashcards. Love leaves paper trails if you let it. At the salsa club, the bass thumped and feet flew. Valentina leaned close, her breath warm against my ear. "Go dance with her," she said, nodding at a woman waiting by the edge of the floor. They came to dance. "Don't be shy, David." I went. Awkward first beat, then better. When I came back, Valentina was laughing, her whole face bright. On the walk home, she nudged me. "She looked at you, but you're coming home with me." I used to think romance was possession. She taught me it could be permission. Would you be brave enough to nudge your partner to dance with someone else, just for the love of the music? That's trust I never knew existed. We argued once over a late text, something small that felt big in the moment. I went downstairs to cool off, came back with flour and a plan. We made midnight pandabono, the counter dusted like first snow, our hands sticky with cheese and dough. Laughter found us through the oven's warm glow. "We fight like grown-ups," she said, flicking flour at my nose, leaving a white smudge I didn't wipe off. "And make up like kids." Rhythm restored. Work looked different for both of us now. For me, retired didn't mean idle. It meant watching the market like weather instead of war, checking in, observing, no longer obsessing. For her, words were craft. Some afternoons I'd find her at the kitchen table with a headset on, fingers flying across the keyboard, toggling between Spanish and English so other people could understand each other. I'd bring her limonada de coco and stand quiet in the doorway until she lifted one finger, wait, and then turned, eyes soft. 5 minutes, she'd declare, pulling me by the wrist. Dance break. We'd sway in the kitchen while something simmered on the stove, the timer ticking its own little clave. The market is measured in points. Home is measured in rituals. A city becomes yours in small bites. Granada cafes where they know your drink. San Antonio view streets where the light gets theatrical at sunset. A tiny shop that swears it has the best empanadas in Valle, and isn't wrong. Boulevard del Rio at dusk, when the river starts holding the city like a mirror. We picked favorites and let the rest be discovered slowly. I used to live to plan every move, every quarter, every exit. In Cali, I learned to arrive. Which small spot in your city feels like yours? The place where you don't have to explain yourself? Share it below. She surprised me sometimes with decorations, paper hearts on the headboard, a trail of tea lights leading to the balcony, a little banner she'd lettered by hand, Mi Amorcito. "I wanted the house to smile," she said, shrugging like it was nothing. Then she'd kiss my cheek and press a glass into my hand. "Try this one." I added a touch of vanilla. I told her once that I didn't need grand gestures. She pointed around the room at the candles, the notes, the crooked frames I'd straightened, the records stacked by the speaker. "These are tiny," she said. "They just add up." Her worries were tiny too, but they added up in a different way. If a sibling sounded tired on the phone, she'd frown for the rest of the night. If her dad coughed twice at lunch, she'd pack him tea and honey like it was contraband. "That's normal," she'd say when I teased her gently. "We take care." When I told her I'd been out late and didn't pick up on the first ring, she went quiet for a second, then exhaled. "Okay, just send me a pin next time." I learned I could be loved in a language that sounded like logistics but felt like a blanket. Once, months after we met, I asked her what she remembered most from that first day at the notaria. "You looked like a man who reads instructions," she said, laughing. "But your papers were chaos." I groaned. Ouch. She touched my chest, her palm flat over my heart. Chaos is a language too. Then she lifted our old receipt from a book where she'd pressed it like a flower. The ink was faded. The number was still right. I still mispronounce things. The first time I asked for lulo at a new shop, I accidentally turned it into a whole different fruit. She closed her eyes like she was asking the sky for patience, then kissed my forehead. "You learn fast," she said. Even when I didn't, she said it, and I learned faster because she believed it. We kept dancing. Her footwork became a blur. Mine became a careful imitation with its own dignity. "You listen," she'd whisper when I was certain I'd failed. "That's the step most people skip." Some nights she'd tell me, "Go, invite someone." I'd glance at her. She'd nod. I'd cross the floor. And I'd always come back to her laugh, to her hand, to our slow walk home under jacaranda trees. Jealousy can be a door. Ours opened with trust and closed with jokes. Every so often, we return to the balcony with candles. The city glitters below like 1,000 tiny rivers finding the sea. "If love is a song," I told her once, "you're the clave, steady, bright, impossible to ignore." She lit a wick and watched it catch, the flame reflected in her eyes. "Mi cielo, make a wish." I wished for the ordinary to stay extraordinary. I wished for Wednesdays that smelled like lemon cleaner and vinyl, for Fridays that tasted like empanadas, for Sundays that sounded like dominoes, for nights when a comb in my hand meant I was exactly where I should be. Friends ask why I stayed. I tell them, numbers gave me permission, but Valentina gave me reason. The market taught me patience. Cali taught me presence. She taught me both. I came for translations. I stayed for the way she translated life. We still tease each other. On Avenida Sexta, she'll lean in. "She was looking at you." I'll shrug. "Pues, I'm learning to keep my eyes on the beat." She'll tug my hand. "Mi cielo, you're coming home with me." We'll pass a flower stall and she'll slow down without a word. I'll buy sunflowers. She'll pretend to be surprised. At home, she'll straighten the frames. I'll put on a record. We'll dance 2 steps to nowhere in particular. When the candles burn low, she rests her head on my shoulder. "Do you miss New York?" she asks sometimes, not out of fear, but curiosity. I tell her I miss parts, the noise, the speed, the idea that you can find anything at 2 in the morning. She smiles into my shirt. "Here you found me at 10 in the morning." I feel her grin against my chest. "Verdad," I say. Truth. Here's my truth. I used to chase fireworks. In Cali, I got a lighthouse. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that simply stays, steady and bright, showing you the line between water and shore. If love is a song, we keep learning the same chorus and finding new verses. If home is a rhythm, it sounds like her saying, "Text me when you get there," and me answering, "Ya lagay," and a heart flying back like a kite. So here's to the simple things that add up. Candles on a balcony, flour on a counter at midnight, paper notes on a mirror, a receipt tucked in a book, a glass of something cold pressed gently into your hand. Here's to the dance you learn when you stop trying to impress and start trying to listen. Here's to mi amorcito en mi cielo en ven acá, mi vida. Here's to the slow dance people and the fireworks people and everyone who finds a way to become both. If this rhythm felt like yours, hit that like button and subscribe, because I've got more stories about building a life where you least expect it. And tell me in the comments, which tiny ritual keeps your love steady? If you're traveling to Colombia or already here, share your story. The good, the not so good, and the beautifully ordinary. Someone out there needs your verse to learn the song. Hasta luego, and remember, sometimes the best translations aren't word for word, sometimes they're heart to heart.